What's up guys, this is Sean and welcome to another episode of the Eheng podcast. And this episode, right, will be a very different episode because lately something has changed lah. After investing like a few different properties already, and finally I kind of decided to finally shop for a home, a future home that I might stay in, because let's say 3 years down the road, right? Because now I have that privilege of living with my parents and my in-laws all this while, so I don't have to actually fork out for housing installment for a place to stay lah. That's my privilege and I'm very grateful for it. So maybe in the 3-4 years time, I need a home. As per what I share all this while, right? The 4 basic steps of buying a house. Number 1, what's the intention of buying a house? Which is own, stay and investment. So for step 1, it's actually own, stay, right? And that criteria is very important because I might not buy things just because the rental is high, and I might not buy things, right, just because the return is good or the capital appreciation is good. What's different is that the mode of shopping is what I like is the most important, meaning like, is there a golf course, is there MRTs, is there a primary school, and etc lah, right? So all those are taken into consideration besides rental return, because if you are just purely looking into rental returns, right, then the whole mode of decision making, right, is very different already. So that's very important for step 1. Step 2 is to actually find out how much is my budget. So I've checked with my banker, and I do check every now and then lah. So I'm pretty clear my budget, how much is it. So in this documentation process, I'm actually looking for a house around 600 to 800,000, which means that per month I'm coughing out 3,000 to 4,000 for monthly installment for a house lah, and trying to get the best deal within this range though. So step 3 is where it's getting very interesting lah. I realized that the mode of me doing research, right, is by default. So my wife saw how I was doing comparison for different projects, right? And it's by automatic, I'm not even thinking about it, and all this data actually just comes to me pretty naturally. And she thought that I should share with you guys like how I'm actually shopping for properties, right? Because now if you guys know that the base rate for interest, right, has dropped, so it's a very good time because all of our loans, right, just got cheaper. The interest rate just got lower, and based on the experience of me visiting all these kind of properties already, I know what I can actually get for different locations lah. So for this documentation process, again, I would just want to share like how I do my research and what I take into consideration, because this is shopping for a home, not so much of an investment. So it's way more complicated than just figures and numbers and rental returns, right? So it's going to be a lot of discussion, and it's going to be a lot of individual preference, right? So one of the first thing that I've done is to shortlist where I would want to stay. So as per what I mentioned during MCO, now the norm of working might change, right? So it means that flexi hours will be adopted, and it's okay to stay away from the city really, because I don't think we will be required to go to the city as often anymore. As my career progresses, maybe I should stick back to the makeover guys for the next 3 to 5 years, and this channel maybe will grow, and maybe I will start up my own thing. I don't know. Those are the unknowns, the uncertainties. Hence it's a more solid decision to be staying close to my parents' house and my in-laws' house lah. And I want to pick locations which is close to them, so just in case weekends, right, what I do during weekends is I only spend times for family, and the travel distance to them is rather important to me. I don't want to spend too much time just to go to their house, because if it's too far, right, it becomes an hassle just to visit your own parents lah. So that being said, I've shortlisted a few. And for this episode, right, so I want to share the consideration of picking a location as a home. When you are very certain that that business belongs to you, maybe if you're an entrepreneur, right, that's so cool. If you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, you're running your own restaurant, or you're running your own factory, manufacturing plant or whatsoever, right, it's pretty solid and it's pretty fixed, right? There's no variations again to it already. So it's not going to change in the short term. Then it's a decision whether you want to choose close to your workplace. If not, then close to your parents' house or in-laws' house. So I think that's the priority in choosing a location as a home. Number 1, maybe close to your parents' house, right? Your in-laws' house. Number 2, close to your office, your workplace, right? Because every day you need to travel to work in the future, right? So number 3 is to locate in between these two, right? So your parents' house is here, your workplace is here, maybe you can choose somewhere in between. Then after fixing that location, I was start thinking about the facilities, right? Do I really need a public transport? So to me, it's good to have. So what's very important to me, it's security and schools and existing communities, which means, right, it needs to be a somewhat developed area already, and I would prefer places to eat lah, places to hang out, places where I can send my future kids to school, to tuition, music class, whatsoever, right? Because most of the time, parents' time are spent on transporting the kids here and there. I don't want that to be me in the future, where I stay far away from the commercial areas. I need to travel every day in and out, maybe 6 to 7 times a day lah. Personally, I would prefer privacy. I would prefer a lot of greens. Size is not the most important thing for me. It means, right, for 1,500 square feet or 1,008 square feet further away from town, 700 square feet located closer to the location that I really have in mind, right? I think that's good. Now I've given some thought to it. My parents actually stay in Shah Alam, so that's where I grew up in. So it's very close to Klang and stuff like that, right? Then my in-laws are actually staying in Puchong. So between Puchong and Shah Alam, there's a few places that I have in mind. Number one, Bukit Jalil, right? Because Bukit Jalil is just at 10 to 15 minutes away from Puchong. And if I want to go to Shah Alam also, I have the Kesas Highway, which is pretty convenient. Number two is actually Cheras / Balakong area. That is because it's upcoming. I see that because the new MRT has just completed, and you can see a lot of development that is coming up. So I'm also pretty interested in that area. Number three, a little bit more atas, Mont Kiara. Mont Kiara, just because I travel there every day and I'm very familiar with the road system, and that puts me in a very ideal location where I can access to the city and be close to the action just in case I need it. Because next time when this channel really grow and explode, right, all the properties in KL, I can access that just like that. So for the first episode in this series, I guess that's about it, right? So that's how I decide and shortlist locations to stay in as we have time. I think a lot of people will be in the same stage like me, right? They just are about to get married, or they just got married and they're thinking about having a home, having a place that they can call their own, right? Where they can raise their kids, so they can groom their children the way they want to. So they will have their own space without the interruption of the dato or nene lah, because those are the generation that will spoil the kids ma, because they love them so much, right? And do stay tuned. I will try to document as much as I can, which includes the thought process of me trying to shortlist and why, doing the comparison and what's available. And I sure hope that this process can also help most of the people, because most of the emails that I'm receiving, right, is how to decide which project A and B, right, or C and D. So I think that's the consideration process. And to be very honest, I was hesitant in sharing this journey itself with everyone, right, because later everybody know where I stay. So that will be a problem also. So I guess in this new era, right, I think everybody knows everyone, and I think it's pretty cool to share something very special with you guys as well, because you guys also helped with the channel very much, right? So I'm also very welcome on suggestions of projects, right? So I will just run my own analysis, and I hope this collab with you guys, right, those who are watching, right, so you can find out more about the projects and we can help each other. Maybe sometimes you can share the results of your research and I will share my results on my research together, and I hope that I can find my ideal home pretty soon, right? So I guess that's about it. Thank you very much, and see you guys on the next one. If you really like this video, like it, share it, and even subscribe for more information like this. Stay tuned for the next episode. Ciao.